Okay, in this video we're going to talk a little bit about using that new post processor that we just created. Here you can see that I've taken that post that we just created, that ANLM 600 control 3-axis vertical. I've taken the part that we brought in, I added some stock, I created some features, I did some basic machining on it, and now it's time to output some code. So I'm going to just come up here and click Generate NC. I'm not worried about the file, I'll just overwrite whatever was there. And it's generating the CL information for those tool paths. And here we have our output. And our output looks, pretty straightforward, fairly generic, some G1s, G2s, G3s. But I want to tweak a little bit of this output. Now, I've just posted this code. I'm in session. And Evo knows that I have that ANLM controller, that 3V Eagle, loaded. So what I can do now is I can go into that 3V Eagle with the ANLM, into the CGD file in Code Wizard, and I can come over here, and you notice, remember we talked about the machine and our format table and our G code and our code constructors. Now I can start working on that post to make modifications. The question is, how do I get started? The easiest place to get started, changing your format table, that's pretty straightforward. We talked about that. Let's start talking about changing some of your code. Here you can see how we can do all of the default setups. We're going to start by coming down here to NC Debug, double clicking that. And here are the options within NC Debug. And the one I want to do is I want to turn on Generate Code Constructor Trace and click OK. So now, when I compile this post processor again, it has Code Constructor Tracing on. We'll talk about what that is in just a second. But I'm not just going to compile this. I'm going to compile this and rerun anything that's in memory. Keep in mind, right behind here, Evo is running. It has this post installed. So I'm in an automatic debug mode. So it comes and it runs. Now when I go to open that file again, it says, hey, that file was edited. Do you want to reload it? I say, of course I do. I want to see what that post change did. And boom. Here is my code constructor trace. It says, the code constructor for what's about to come next is called Setup Tooling Sheet, Setup Tooling Data List, Setup Work Datums, First Tool Change, Rapid After Tool Change. So as you walk through here, and then you go into linear interpolation. So let's say that we want to change something about how the first tool change itself works. Maybe we want to put an M code in after the tool change. So I can go back to the post and I say, okay, I need to look for the code constructor called First Tool Change. That's where this will be. So I go back to my CGD editor, my code wizard, and now I'm going into the code constructors. And now right here I have one called Tool Change. I'll open up Tool Change. It says, oh, the first tool change. So maybe on the first tool change, I go to Z0, select my tool, I pick my tool for my tool number, and maybe I want to add an M06 on here. Probably something I'd do at the end, but let's say for some reason I want that. I click OK. Once again, I just come to my rerun. It reruns that, and now when I open up my editor again, it says, hey, that file has been changed. Do you want to reload it? So let's come down here to this first tool change code constructor. When I click OK to reload that file, you'll notice, boom, the M06 that I added at the end of that tool change is now included. The same is true for all of your other functions. If you want to change the format or the order in which they're in, maybe for some reason on your G3 you want to put your feed value at the front, you can come in and look for the code constructor for circular interpolation and rearrange those components. So anything that I want to do, let's say if I go into general motion and I look at circular interpolation, here it is how it's set up. It's going to put out my block, my X arc end, my Y arc end, my Z arc end, my arc radius, and my feed at the end. I could move that feed all the way to the beginning and my feed would show up first. Okay, so basically you're working inside of an editor. All of your valid tokens are down the side. It's a matter of looking at other posts, seeing how they're written, see what the output is, comparing it to what you have, and adjusting your code constructors accordingly.